Hello folks, welcome back. In my last video I had a look at the Sander, which is a homage to a design that's over 100 years old by a well-known French manufacturer who doesn't just make watches and who modelled their watch on the design of an early armoured fighting vehicle. And I think that's enough of a clue for you. And the reason is I'm going around the houses with my description of the original design is because my video of that watch and this watch was pulled by YouTube for an alleged counterfeit strike, and they wouldn't give me any reason why, since neither of the watches were counterfeit. I was very surprised. But here we have a Pablo Raez iteration of the same design. Now, the Sander watch is very small by modern standards. Part of the reason for this is the rectangular design. Now, if you keep it proportional and in keeping with the OG watch, you have some constraints. And the Sander watch, which is here, is on a 20mm lug, but the lugs are part of the case, and if you want to make the case bigger you have to have thicker lugs, and you get out with the design parameters. Pablo Raez do two versions of the watch. There's this one here, which is the large one, and the reason I bought it was because it's a bit bigger and it would suit most modern tastes better than the small Sander does. But because they've kept the design proportional, the lug width here is a really big and rather awkward to get 24mm. Now, there's not an awful lot to be said about the design of this watch. It differs from the Sander in that it has a date function, but it's a two-hander with no running seconds. It has a quartz movement, not that that matters because you can't see what sort of movement it has because there's no running seconds. It has a silver chromed alloy case. It has a cabochon, which may or may not be plastic, in the crown. It has a printed dial in that lovely Art Deco style, which they can take no design credit for. But it's actually quite a nicely printed dial, actually. The indices are very sharp. It's good print, it's good quality printing. And you can see the blued effect on the hands. Now, I don't think the hands are blued steel. I think it's some sort of coating on some pretty standard hands, but they look nice. Yeah, they look actually very classy. I mentioned the 24mm lug width. I'll go over the other sizes because this is far more in keeping with most watches today. It's a bit larger, and indeed Sander advertise on AliExpress their watch as being a lady's watch. Now I dispute that. It's not a lady's watch, it's just that the small size makes it a hard sell for them. Pablo Raez do one the same size as the Sander, and they do this one, and they do versions in silver with black straps or rose gold with brown straps. The rose gold ones are nice as well. It's just a shame that all gold has to be rosy now, but that seems to be the current fashion. Anyway, the watch has a stainless steel back. Now, whenever you see stainless steel back on a watch, that's usually an indication of the fact that the case is not stainless steel. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if you can see this, the case actually protrudes a little bit beyond the flat stainless steel case back. So these areas are going to touch your skin, and this chrome plating is going to be vulnerable to the sweat from your wrist, and may result in some degradation and pitting in it. in time to come. But with a watch like this, it's a dress watch, and I would anticipate it wouldn't be an everyday wear. So provided you keep it clean, there's no reason it shouldn't give you years of service. Now, I mentioned the strap, the difficult to source, but not impossible, 24mm lug width. Now you're looking at this strap and you may be thinking, oh, it's quite nice, and it does look quite nice, especially after it was broken in. I've had this watch for some time and I've wore it, and it's much more comfortable than it was. It was these cushion straps, wherever you get them from, are often very stiff, but this one is suppling up quite nicely. But the reason you might be caring about whether you can get a replacement strap for it or not is that this strap is far more likely to annoy Greta Thunberg than a vegan. It is marked as genuine leather, but it doesn't really smell or feel right. And I think it is genuine PU leather. It may not be. There may be some components that I've actually seen a cow somewhere in it, but I have my doubts, people. I have my doubts. But at this price, now this is the thing, these watches are ridiculously cheap. Now most reviewers will look at a cheap watch and say to you, well, it's all right for the price. But I would say to you, you look at this is all right at any price really. It's an attractive little watch, and it's made as well as they can given the materials and the price point they're going for. If this had a sapphire crystal and a stainless steel case and a nice leather strap, you might be forgiven for paying considerably more for it. But as it comes, you get all of the looks for less of the money. And that's what this channel's all about, really. I'll let you see it on the wrist, and you make up your own mind. This is a niche product. People who want rectangular watches, perhaps with the OG watch in mind, will like this. People who wouldn't consider it. I would warn you that it's not an everyday watch, although it says water resistant on the back. All rectangular watches, anything that doesn't have a round dial and a round screw-in case back, is going to have issues with water resistance to any kind of depth rating. And this one, I wouldn't trust it to wash the dishes with, and I'd even be a bit cautious out in the rain, to be honest. But the point of it is a nice, slim, dressy, elegant watch. It weighs 44 grams. It has a thickness of 7.82 grams. The lug to lug is 41.5 millimeters. So this is a watch that will fit most wrists, won't look out of place if you have a thicker wrist, and isn't too chunky if you have a slimmer one. And considering it has a design that originates from the time of the Great War, 1914 to 18, this watch can fairly be described as having a timeless elegance, which is ridiculous because it's very cheap. You have to decide for yourself whether you're put off by how cheap it is. I think it's so cheap that people will doubt the quality that you can be getting. But this is one of these rare occasions where the price doesn't actually reflect what you receive in a good way. I was very surprised at how nice this watch is, and when I get round to putting it on a nice buffalo grain supple leather strap, this will be a very nice watch indeed, and it's already quite a pretty one. Until the next time folks, bye bye for now.